Hey everyone, tonight we're trading warm blankets for razors, scented oils, and the constant pressure of not slicing a senator's ear. Welcome to the high-stakes world of a Roman barber. Forget quiet salons and polite small talk. In ancient Rome, being a barber meant being part surgeon, part gossip columnist, and part stand-up comic, all while holding a dangerously sharp blade next to someone important. Imagine waking up before dawn, sharpening your tools over a smoky brazier, then trying to trim the beard of a half-drunk aristocrat while he lectures you on Stoic philosophy. One sneeze, one slip, and you're either out of work or exiled. No licenses, no safety protocols, and definitely no polite tipping. The job, exhausting. The clients, entitled. The stakes, bleedingly high. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the world. Now dim the lights, let your mind wander, and allow the gentle rhythm of my voice to lull you towards sleep. Maybe settle in, pull your blanket a little closer, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Welcome to the shop. Blades, gossip, and bloodletting, mostly not yours. It is morning in Rome, and not the clean kind of morning. Not the slow coffee and quiet street sort of morning you might be picturing. No, this is the Rome of clanging carts, shouting vendors, a goat tied to a signpost, and someone yelling about turnips already being out of season. It smells of warm bread, hot stone, and human ambition. You, poor soul, are about to start your first day as a Roman barber, or tonsor. And yes, they really called it that. You are a tonsor now, a master of blades and small talk, a bringer of beauty and sometimes mild infections. Step 1. The shop. A room with a scream. You arrive at your humble little barbershop tucked into the corner of an insula, the kind of building that has seen better centuries. The sign above your door is a painted wooden board featuring a razor and a mirror, both slightly crooked. Inside it smells of oil, sweat, and ambition. The chair, singular, is made of cracked leather, and the floor is stained with the consequences of previous haircuts, shaves, and one botched attempt at earwax removal. You haven't even opened yet, but already there's a man outside yelling about his appointment. You did not know appointments existed. They don't. He's lying. But you let him in anyway because arguing with a Roman man before noon is like poking a wasp with a wine straw. Step 2. You are now the therapist too. The man takes the chair. He is wide. He is loud. He has opinions about everything, including which gods are currently overrated. As you reach for your razor, a beautiful iron thing that looks like it could be used in a minor war, he begins to talk and talk and talk. His wife, he says, no longer respects him. His son, he says, has taken up poetry. Poetry, he spits, like some kind of Greek. You nod and grunt at intervals, gently applying the soap, made from goat fat and ashes, to his jowls. It smells like regret. He wants a shave, a trim, and his fortune read. You are not prepared for that last part. But it turns out, barbers often doubled as amateur fortune tellers, or at least good guessers. You squint at his palm, mutter something about unsettled stars, and move on. Step 3. Razors and risk management. You begin to shave him, slowly, carefully. You remind yourself that blood is not the goal here, despite historical evidence to the contrary. Roman razors are not delicate. They are basically tiny scythes with delusions of precision. You pull the skin taut, scrape, and try not to cry. Meanwhile, the man continues complaining about his neighbours, a mule and his neighbour's mule. He turns his head suddenly. You nick his chin. He doesn't notice, but you do. Your heart skips a beat, then starts playing the lyre at double tempo. You casually apply some vinegar to the cut, the Roman solution to most bodily issues. He winces. Good stuff, he says. You smile. You're lying. You're not okay. Step 4. The unexpected guest. The door bursts open, a boy rushes in. A slave, no older than 11, holding a scroll and out of breath. "Urgent summons," he shouts. You freeze, razor in hand. The boy's not here for you, but for your customer, who grunts, stands, and dabs his chin with the edge of his toga. Duty calls, he says, tossing a coin that lands squarely in a cup of water you had meant for rinsing blades. He leaves. You're now alone. You take a breath. One customer down. Possibly 6 more to go, possibly 20. There is no schedule. There is only chaos. Step 5. You are also a dentist. Sort of. Next comes a woman who wants her husband's beard trimmed. Her husband is not present. You're confused. She gestures outside where a large man is asleep against a post. He is snoring, loudly. She wants him tidied up for a family gathering. He won't wake, she adds. Too much wine. You are, against all reason, expected to trim a drunken, unconscious man's beard on the street, like some sort of aesthetic hitman. You oblige. It is either this or go back to selling cabbage. You kneel. You work. He snores. A small crowd gathers. Someone applauds. You bow. You're now, for better or worse, known. Step 6. Let's talk about bloodletting. Oh yes. Barbers in Rome were not just stylists. They were also amateur medics, especially when it came to bloodletting, the ancient cure for everything from headaches to heartbreak. And now, an older man has arrived clutching his side, demanding you balance his humours. He doesn't mean with a joke. You point to the chair, you wash your hands, you sharpen the blade, you mutter something to Mars for luck. The vein is raised, the cut is made, the bowl fills slowly. He thanks you, pale but proud. You have performed your first bloodletting. You try not to faint. Step 7. Gossip is currency. The day continues. You trim hair, you scrub beards, you dodge questions about politics and occasionally pass judgment on gladiator rankings. Your shop becomes a hub of gossip. People drop in not just for grooming but for information. Who's in exile? Who's back? Who's secretly seeing that wine cellar on Via Claudia? You know everything, because you hear everything. A man whispers something about a senator's son in a very scandalous tunic. You nod solemnly. You do not repeat it. Yet, by nightfall, your hands ache, your back is stiff. You smell like oil, sweat, and a strange kind of satisfaction. You've survived your first day as a Roman barber. You've trimmed a beard mid-snore, told 3 fortunes, stopped one man from bleeding too much, and accidentally become the city's newest gossip magnet. Tomorrow someone might ask you to remove a wart, or pull a tooth, or sing. You won't know until it happens. But tonight, you rest. Let's imagine you've made it through your first terrifying hour as a Roman tonsor. You've survived your first attempt at a straight razor shave with only minimal arterial damage, and your fingernails still contain enough foreign substances to start a museum exhibit on ancient grooming. Congratulations. Now it gets worse. Because just when you think you're catching a rhythm, heat the water, strap the chair, mumble apologies through your teeth, you look up and see him. He has arrived. He's not a senator, but he speaks like one. He's not in the army, but he flexes like a centurion. His tunic costs more than your shop. And as he stands in the doorway, radiating entitlement and fennel seeds, you know, deep in your oil-slicked bones, that this is your moment of doom. You're about to shave a man who believes he is the living reincarnation of Jupiter Optimus Maximus. Step 1. Flattery or death. In this moment, the actual blade you're holding is less dangerous than the words you say. Salve, honoured sir, you offer, nearly bowing. He nods like a god indulging mortal curiosity. Do you desire the Jupiter cut as a last time? He smiles. You got it right. This haircut has a name. It also has instructions, which he will now deliver for 12 minutes without pausing, while referring to the mirror as the oracle. You nod. You try to look interested. Your apprentice smirks in the corner, stuffing a sponge into his mouth to keep from laughing. You want to throw a towel at him, but you don't, because now it's razor time. Step 2. The blade of Damocles, aka your career. You lather the client's face in a mixture of olive oil, crushed rose petals and goat milk, because he's allergic to water. Of course he is. Then, gripping your straight razor like a violin bow, you begin the delicate process of shaving the self-declared deity. He does not move. He also does not breathe normally. He stares at you in the mirror with the intensity of a man who once sued a neighbour for watering plants too aggressively. You nick his chin. He raises an eyebrow. You whisper an apology. He whispers, "You may continue." You're sweating so much that you're creating your own microclimate. Step 3. The gossip gauntlet. As you finish the shave, a chorus begins behind you. The peanut gallery of clients waiting for their turn. They're not quiet. "He thinks he's a god, but he cried when his sandal broke," someone mutters. "I saw him get stuck in a latrine once," another adds helpfully. You laugh, too loudly. The client looks at you. You stop. He nods slowly, like a god sparing a worm. And just like that, the tension is gone. For now. Step 4. Beard sculpting as a political act. He demands his beard to be shaped like the Alps. You aren't sure what this means. You attempt topography with shears. He instructs you to model his sideburns on the tusks of Hannibal's elephants. This takes a while. When it's finally over, he examines himself in the polished bronze. He grunts approvingly. Then he gives you a coin. It is smaller than the one he gave your apprentice last week for fetching a towel. But you say thank you, because you're still alive. Step 5. The soap crisis of mid-morning. Your soap supply has run out. Again. Soap in ancient Rome isn't soap. It's sapo, a terrifying substance made from ashes, animal fat, and hope. It smells like ambition and wet fur. Your assistant was supposed to restock it. He didn't. You now have 3 customers in line and nothing to clean your tools with but a suspicious bucket of rainwater. One client offers his own special salve, which you immediately regret accepting when it starts foaming bright orange and smells like old vinegar. You keep going. You are now a chemist. Step 6. The wrestling barber. An elderly man arrives for his weekly massage, by which he means a full-body oil rub followed by a light wrestle to stay limber. You're not trained in this, but he pays well, and you have already made eye contact. 10 minutes later, you're oiled head to toe and locked in a gentle armbar with a man who once marched with Caesar and thinks your kneecaps are too symmetrical. You escape with dignity. Barely. You're handed a boiled egg as a tip. You accept. Step 7. Midday madness and the sound of screaming wax. Some Roman barbers double as depilators. That means hair removal. This is not done gently. It involves resin, cloth strips, prayers to Fortuna, and screaming. Lots of screaming. You're handed a pot of wax that smells like melted pine cones and despair. Your next client wants everything from the neck down removed. You oblige. The process takes an hour. You discover muscles in your hands you've never used before. You also learn 4 new Roman curses you wish you hadn't. At the end, the client stands, examines himself, nods, and throws a fistful of chickpeas into the air for luck. You pretend that's normal. Final act, surviving until the siesta. It's early afternoon. Your hands ache. Your robe smells like oil and citrus. Your floor is covered in beard trimmings, feathers, don't ask, and 1 broken sandal. You sit down for the first time in hours, then someone opens the door. Is this the place where you can get your eyebrows shaped into eagle wings? You do not scream, you just nod. Because you, brave tonsor, are still standing. South. You've survived the early morning rush of hysterical clients, dodged a scolding from your dominos for not knowing the difference between Gallic and Cappadocian pomade, and somehow didn't slice anyone's ear off. Yet. Congratulations. You're now still not halfway through your working day. Because next comes what the Romans would have called the hour of peak absurdity. You just call it midday. It starts, as all Roman catastrophes do, with a senator. Yes, a real one. He arrives in a litter the size of a small temple, carried by 4 exhausted men who look like they've seen things. He sweeps in, toga meticulously arranged, and sits in your chair as if it's a tribunal bench. You don't ask what kind of cut he wants. He assumes you know. That's your first mistake. He doesn't speak. He simply lifts a single eyebrow. You start trimming cautiously, nervously, knowing that a wrong snip might spark a duel, or worse, an anecdote that gets repeated in the Senate for the next 3 decades. But there's more. Oh, there's always more. Today, the senator wants a beard consultation. Now, Roman beard fashion is a battlefield of egos and evolving norms. In some decades, a full beard means wisdom and gravitas. In others, it means you're hiding shame. Or worse, Greek philosophy. Today, it's trending toward the military stubble look. Casual, but imperial. You reach for the pumice stone. Yes, the pumice stone. Because that's how they exfoliate in Rome, by literally sanding their faces. He nods in approval. You begin. And while you work, he talks. He tells you about Cicero's nephew's bowel trouble, about the scandal at the last Saturnalia involving oysters and a badly trained monkey, about how he once debated Cato the Younger about beard oil viscosity. You nod at the right moments. You say indeed with just the right level of awe. And then, he wants a nose hair plucking. You try not to weep. This is where the true artistry begins. One wrong tug and this man could sneeze his soul out of his nostrils and take you with it. You steady your hands, you count to 10, you begin 1, 2, 3. He grunts, approves, you survive, but you don't get a tip. This is Rome. Your tip is the knowledge that you weren't exiled today. Meanwhile, in the chair beside you, your co-worker, let's call him Flavius, because every third man seems to be called Flavius, is working on a gladiator. This one's a crowd favourite, known for decapitating 3 people in one swing, and then apologising to the audience for the mess. He's here for a scalp massage. The gladiator's head is shaved, of course, but that doesn't stop him from insisting on the full oil and sandalwood treatment. You watch Flavius as he works with the precise terror of someone massaging a lion that hasn't eaten yet. He makes eye contact with you. You both exchange the same look. Are we paid enough for this? The answer is no. You return to your senator, who is now debating whether to have his armpits scented. You suggest lavender. He frowns. He prefers something more philosophical. You suggest frankincense. He nods. You apply the oil. You pretend this is normal. You wonder what your mother would say if she saw you now. Probably. At least it's honest work. The gossip mill grinds on a woman enters the barber shop. She's not here for a haircut. She's here to talk. She sits draped in silks with a fan the size of a small door. She speaks to no one and everyone. Her words flutter like butterflies and sting like hornets. She whispers about affairs, about who's been exiled, about a certain Vestal virgin seen buying figs after curfew. Every eye in the shop pretends not to listen. Every ear is straining. You learn more in 10 minutes than a praetor's spy learns in a week. And then she vanishes, in a rustle of gossip and perfume. Lunch? Ha! Number, do you think you get a break? Absolutely not. A boy bursts in. His father wants his beard trimmed. His father is dead, but he wants it anyway, because the funeral is tomorrow, and the father must look presentable. You try to object. You don't. You go. You travel across town, dodging carts and cats and street philosophers, and arrive at a domus so fancy it has heated floors and singing fountains. The dead man lies in the atrium, pale and solemn. His family watches as you shave him. You try not to think too hard about it. He doesn't complain. That's nice. When you finally return, the day isn't done. You still have the fortune teller. Yes, the barbershop fortune teller. Every decent Roman grooming establishment has one. She sits in the corner staring into a bowl of oil. She mutters. Sometimes she shrieks. People pay her in wine and compliments. She once predicted a fire. She once predicted a divorce. She once predicted that you'd lose your favourite sandal. You did. 3 weeks later. She tells you today, avoid goats. You write that down. You get back to your chair. You clean your tools. You prepare for the evening rush. Because Roman barbershops don't close until someone sings the final curse or a stray wolf wanders in. And even then, maybe not. By now, you're no longer shocked by the idea of shaving another man's face with a blade that looks like it was last sharpened during the Punic Wars. You've accepted the smell of rancid olive oil as part of the ambience. You've even stopped flinching when someone behind you yells, "Next!" loud enough to wake the lairs. But you're not prepared for this next wave of insanity. Because being a Roman barber isn't just about hygiene. No, it's about information control. It's about status. And most of all, it's about enduring whatever horror walks through the curtain with a coin and a dream. Let's start with the politician with a comb-over and a secret. He enters with the stride of a man who thinks he owns half the city. Probably because he does. You've seen his face on election graffiti, usually followed by the phrase, "Don't trust this man with your goats." He sits without speaking. This is bad. Then he leans in and whispers, "Make me look powerful." You blink. He nods toward his head, which has about 7 surviving hairs, all of them clinging together like frightened soldiers. You get to work, you oil, you fluff, you rearrange. You comb those brave strands into a formation so intricate it could be used in military drills. "Good," he says, admiring himself in a bronze mirror. "Now make sure everyone knows I came here." He leaves you a tip and a warning. If you tell anyone about the wig glue, I'll deny everything. The gladiator haircut fiasco. Next in the chair is a man with arms the size of amphorae and a face like a dropped helmet. He says his name is Marcus the Skull Cracker. He wants something intimidating but with flair. You suggest trimming the sides and leaving the top long enough for dramatic flips. He agrees. Halfway through, he begins telling a story about the time he bit a Thracian's ear clean off. You nod politely and try not to snip too close to his jugular. When you're done, he stands, examines your work and declares, "This haircut will make me win." You do not ask how. He leaves, forgetting to pay, but you decide not to remind him. The gossip session that could topple a dynasty. Your next client is a woman named Clodia. Not the Clodia, but close enough that people whisper when she walks by. She settles into your chair and sighs dramatically. "You would not believe," she begins, "what I just heard about the Vestal Virgins." You lean in, not because you care, but because she's speaking in a voice softer than a toga whisper. She proceeds to unravel a tale involving forbidden lovers, a cursed amphora, and someone named Gaius who definitely isn't supposed to be in the forum after dark. You murmur the appropriate "no" and "scandalous" at regular intervals. By the time she's done, her hair is a perfect coil of intrigue, pinned with 3 ivory sticks and enough tension to snap a Senate seat in 2. She kisses your cheek. "You never heard a word," she says sweetly. You absolutely did. The philosopher who wanted bangs. He arrives in a cloud of self-importance and sandal dust. His scrolls are tied with leather cords. His beard is uneven and smells of ink. "I have pondered long," he says, "and I believe my forehead needs more drama." You offer a cautious, "So, bangs?" "Yes, bangs." You've never cut philosopher bangs before. There's a lot of pacing involved. He quotes Plato. You quote back prices. Eventually you pin his hair back and begin snipping gently. He mutters something about fate. By the end, he stares into the mirror with unblinking awe. "This," he whispers, "will inspire an entirely new school of thought." You just nod. You're already sweeping the hair clippings into a pile shaped like a tragic myth. End of day, end of patience. Your back hurts. Your fingers are cramped. Your ears are full of secrets. You've been a confidant, a therapist, a fashion consultant, and at least twice a witness to minor crimes. But the day's not over. An elderly man shuffles in. He has no teeth and requests a shave, a sermon and a song. You give him all 3, in that order. As the sun dips below the rooftops, and the last of the oil lamps are lit, you wipe down your chair, stretch your aching legs, and ask yourself the question every Roman barber eventually must. Did I just accidentally learn enough to get assassinated? Because in Rome, a well-cut beard can open doors and close tombs, and you, poor modern soul, still have 3 more parts to go. Let's keep going. Let's say you've made it past the initial hurdle of holding a razor without dropping it on someone's jugular. That's progress. You've even mastered the art of pretending that the customer's hairline isn't wildly uneven. "Very fashionable in Athens," you said, with a confident nod. They believed you. But what you haven't quite prepared for, dear sleep-deprived listener, is that your barbershop chair is about to become the epicenter of Roman intrigue, whispered gossip, and the sort of political maneuvering that could get a person exiled. Or worse, invited to dinner. Because in ancient Rome, the barbershop wasn't just a place for grooming. It was, as always, a place for surveillance. Let's set the scene. You're about to trim the beard of a portly senator named Quintus Lucilius, the type who enters the shop with a toga full of crumbs and leaves, with twice the gossip he arrived with. He leans back in your makeshift barber's seat, which is really just an old stool on a cracked mosaic tile, adjusts his belt and gives you that look. The look that says, "I know 5 consuls and 6 scandals, and I intend to share." As you sharpen your razor on a leather strap that's older than your career, he begins casually. "Have you heard what they're saying about Gaius Verres?" You haven't, but you nod, because of course you have. And so begins a game of nodding, prompting, and carefully timed really, while you try not to nick a man whose family owns half of Latium. He talks about tax schemes in Sicily, votes bought in the Forum, and something suspicious about shipments of grain. You pretend to listen. You're also trying to avoid the unfortunate tuft of hair sprouting from his left nostril like an ambitious fern. Then things get serious. He leans closer, dangerously so considering the blade in your hand, and whispers, "You didn't hear this from me, but Cicero's cousin. The one with the limp? He's not actually limping. It's a ruse. He's been hiding documents under his sandal." You drop your comb. And here's the problem. In a Roman barbershop, the moment you know a secret, you're now part of it. It's like catching the bouquet at a wedding, but with more legal liability. So now, not only do you have to finish this man's beard while he lists off every senatorial misdeed since the reign of Tiberius, but you also have to remember not to repeat it. Unless, of course, you're bribed with olives and flattery by the next client. That's how the barber becomes the accidental diplomat, or informant, or scapegoat. At this point in your day, your mental checklist looks something like this. Do not accidentally slice a senator. Do not forget who hates whom. Do not reveal that you've never read a single line of Cicero. And above all, do not, under any circumstances, ask about the scandal involving the Vestal virgins and the amphora of imported wine, because that, dear listener, is classified. Your next client is a younger man, very clean-shaven, very well-dressed, and very obviously not here for a haircut. He sits, smiles, places a denarius on the bench, then quietly, "Tell me what Senator Lucilius said about the Sicilian grain routes." You blink, laugh nervously, say something vague about crop rotations. He frowns, leaves. You've just survived your first brush with Roman espionage. Congratulations, you're now officially on someone's list. But don't relax yet. You still have to clean the shop. By now you've survived most of your working day as a Roman tonsor. You've dodged a small riot over mismatched sideburns, accidentally insulted a senator's mother by calling his hair resilient, and cut the same man's ear. Twice. You might be wondering if things could possibly get worse. They can. Because just as you're wiping sweat from your eyes and trying to keep the bees out of the rose oil, the door creaks open and he walks in. A local philosopher with a beard so thick, so tangled, so unapologetically feral that it should come with its own military standard. He sits, you gulp. "Only a trim," he says, "and don't touch the moustache. It's sacred." Of course it is. You start with the sides, delicately combing out crumbs, flakes of beeswax, and what you think might be a small bronze coin. Your comb snags. He winces. "Do not anger the follicles," he murmurs. "They know." You're not sure who they are, but you apologise. The beard strikes back. It resists. It snarls. It bites back, metaphorically, but also emotionally. Every tug feels like a declaration of war. You dab on imported oil to soothe the tangle. It hisses. You think you hear it whisper in Greek. An apprentice watches from the corner, quietly mouthing a prayer to Hercules. The philosopher talks. As you work, the philosopher begins to monologue, naturally. He launches into a sprawling tirade about society's decline, the futility of wealth, and the divine proportions of his own chin. He pauses only to sip lukewarm wine from a clay cup shaped like a goat. You nod politely. You've given up understanding the logic of Roman client culture. If a man wants to discuss Stoic ethics while you tweeze a breadcrumb from his cheek, you let him. But then he falls asleep, mid-sentence, mouth slightly open, still holding the goat cup. You freeze. The beard snores. The entire shop is silent. Do you keep trimming? Do you stop? Is this part of the test? A child pokes his head in and whispers, "Don't wake the beard." You decide to just shape around the edges. The problem of the moustache. He had said not to touch it. But here's the problem. One side is visibly longer than the other. It's hanging into his mouth. He occasionally slurps it back in between words like an edible bookmark. If you leave it, other clients will notice. They will laugh. You'll be blamed. If you trim it, even by a hair, and he finds out, there will be a scene. You're caught in the most delicate ethical dilemma of Roman grooming culture. Eventually, sweat running down your back, you do what every responsible tonsor would do in your position. You close your eyes and trim exactly one hair. The silence is deafening. Nothing happens. You survive. But you'll never forget that hair. The wake-up. He jolts awake, mid-snore. "Did I dream of flames?" he asks no one. You hold up a polished bronze mirror. He squints. He studies. He strokes his chin. Finally he smiles. The beard is balanced. You have done well. You breathe again. He leaves. The silence lingers. A passing client claps. You don't feel triumphant. You feel changed. And your shift isn't even over yet. You made it to the final stretch of your day. The hour is late. The oil lamps flicker low and the scent of burnt myrrh lingers in the corners of your shop like an awkward dinner guest who doesn't quite know when to leave. Your hands are cramping. Your knees ache. Your toga smells like 10 kinds of anxiety. And you've already bled once today, metaphorically, emotionally, and quite literally, from a slip during an eyebrow trim. Just one more client, you tell yourself. One more. But of course, it's a gladiator. He ducks under your doorway, taller than the lintel and twice as wide. He carries the usual signs, a notched ear, a scar running from brow to jaw, and the unmistakable posture of a man who's seen the inside of a lion. Possibly 2. He sits, the stool groans. You prepare your tools, he doesn't blink. "I want it all shaved," he growls. "All?" you croak. He nods. "Face, head, back of the neck, everything. I have a fight tomorrow. Need to be aerodynamic." "Right." You nod like this is the most normal request you've received all day. It is not. You begin. Carefully. Gently. Like a man defusing a scroll rigged to explode. The blade glides once, twice across his scalp. He doesn't flinch. You're doing well. You tell yourself that. But then, in a moment of distraction, possibly from the goat bleating outside or the child reenacting Caesar's death behind your curtain, the razor nicks him. It's small, barely a scratch, but you feel the shop temperature drop 10 degrees. He turns slowly to face you. The silence is thick enough to spread on bread. Then he laughs. "Good," he says. "Now I'm angry. That helps." You're both relieved and more afraid. He stands. You hand him a cloth. He wipes the blood, nods in approval and presses a single denarius into your palm. A tip, possibly a token of mercy. He leaves. And just like that, it's over. Your day, the longest, strangest, most harrowing day of your tonsorial career, is done. You extinguish the lamps. You sweep up hair that could fill a mattress. You mop oil from corners. You fish a honey-soaked comb out of the rainwater jar. You sit on the stone step outside your shop. Exhale slowly and let the evening swallow you. The noise of the street fades. The shouting, the sandals, the sellers calling out their late-night bargains. It all blurs into something distant and harmless. Above you, thunder mutters softly. A few drops tap the edge of your doorway. Then it begins. The slow, even hush of rain on tile, on clay, on worn limestone. a city bathed in quiet. The storm soothes the dust. You close your eyes, and as the rain washes away the heat and the blood and the leftover lemon paste from someone's chin, you realize you did survive the day. Barely. But tomorrow you're switching to dentistry. Sleep now. The storm will keep watch,